Okay, and we are live. Hope everyone can hear me. So Brooks, are you still there?
Yes,
Sorry.
I'm still here.
I kind of had to go off in the ozone because I play all kinds of games with Google and YouTube. Anyway, since the day I was banned, which is 2 or 3 years ago. Anyway, so hi everyone. I'm Carrie Cassidy from Project Camelot, and I have Brooks Agnew here with me. And Brooks, I've known for many, many years. I've known about him for even longer than that. And I love your work, Brooks. I love your explorer mentality and how you're such a dauntless, I guess, courageous guy. So why don't I have a bio for you here, which I could skim over if you like, or you can wing it and do it yourself. What do you think?
Well, I could do it myself.
All right.
I am a master engineer, which means I have disciplines in multiple fields of engineering, electrical, mechanical, and chemical. I have a degree in nuclear chemistry, which I apply in those engineering fields. And I'm an author, so I have 12 books in print. Seven of those have been Amazon bestsellers. And I'm working on the 13th, which is a sequel to my number one bestseller called Charm of Favor. Now, Charm of Favor was, I have to be very careful what I say because I know we're on
No,
YouTube.
we're not. The way I do it is I only go live on YouTube. They pretty much leave you alone when you're live. And then I take it and I put it on Rumble and all the places. So you don't have to worry
Okay.
about being careful. So go
Okay.
right ahead. And I'm going to put your bio on the screen while you're talking so people can follow along with it as well. Go ahead.
Okay. So I've been a
And I
consultant.
read that. I think I read that book, by the way, Charm of Favor.
Oh, good. Well, I've been a consultant for the Fortune 100 for a long time, over 27 years. And my job with them is to either build a new plant or launch a new product or relocate a plant. So I have the ability to bring all these projects together and make them work. Uh, but I also have a really strong desire to write. And so I started writing with the Arc of Millions of Years series, which was 2,000 pages nonfiction about 44 ancient cultures, Olmecs, Zapotecs, Babylonians, almost all of them. And I focused primarily on their view of what Earth was. Like they believed Earth was a sentient being, that they had a relationship with Earth, that when they were good, Earth was good to them, and when they were bad, Earth was bad to them. And when I finished with the series, I was quite fascinated that even though a lot of these societies didn't read each other's works, didn't know each other, and did not meet or descend from each other, they had very similar viewpoints about the planet itself and about the consciousness of mankind and how they kind of have a symbiotic relationship with the planet itself and through that the cosmos. And they had various words for it. They called it God, they called it spirit, they called it different things, but the mechanics of it was the same. So I started in 2007 writing stories about that, using this nonfiction information in a fictional book to try to draw people into the story and get them to understand where that was coming from. And by the time I got to the Birth trilogy, which was right before Charm of Favor, I was in the bestseller status and people were really, really getting into it. And then Charm of Favor came to me as I finished the Birth trilogy, which we're now working with Amazon to get into TV. But Charm of Favor was a story, a true story about the war between the deep state and the president of the United States. And everything that was in it was real. All the subterfuge, all the bribery, all the uh, terrible things that went on, murders and terrorism and everything was all real. So I put fictional characters in the story to kind of bring the character down to the ground level. And then I traveled a lot to get the actual facts from the ground, actually where those events took place. And then I put them in the book and with lots of detail. And some I got criticism because I had too much detail about cars or too much detail about airplanes but then I had other people say, no, I really like the detail about the cars and I like the detail. So it was sort of like Tom Clancy meets Christopher Nolan. So you have this deep espionage story with all of the subterfuge that goes behind it, and then you have the big screen appeal that Christopher Nolan brings to stories like Prometheus and other stories like that. So you get into the reason why all of this happened and why it's going on around us. And the book turned out to be rather prophetic because even though it was completed in 2018, the things that unfolded in the book actually unfolded in 2019, 2020, 2021. It was crazy. So the fans came back to me and said, we got to have a sequel to Charm of Favor. So I'm writing that right now. And I'm 34 chapters into it. It's going to be about 41, 42 chapters. And the plots in it are all real, everything that's happening around us right now. And I'm trying to not scare the hell out of everybody, but trying to show everybody that there is a path through it for mankind.
Okay, now it's many years ago. I think I read your book, Charm of Favor. So I don't remember it all that well, but and maybe I should go back and, like you said, it's all come true since then. So when I read it, I think it was relatively recent. But now you're updating it into present time, right? In your new sequel. And I've just written an article. I don't think I gave it to you, but maybe I did. Anyway, based on this sort of conversation between Nino and 107 about our immediate future, which I was very concerned about. And obviously, Juan's being given certain information that none of us really know, up front. And so I'm curious. I can't remember. Did I send you my article by chance or not?
No, I don't think I read the article.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
did
Okay.
meet 107. I met him in Vegas. And you were
All
there.
right. Yeah, that was a while ago. So now what the thing is that I just to let you know what he's doing. He just did a show on the 8th or the 9th. And is today the day of the 10th? Yeah. So, and he says it sounds insane. He spends the whole show he's in Japan, but he's also talking about Hiroshima and Nagasaki and how the Japanese were preparing for an attack like that, as well as being other kinds of attacks, and that we, the United States, are now in that place and time for ourselves, and that we are going to be attacked like that between now and November, it sounds like. Okay. And that as a result, the election is going to be postponed. Now, this could be, I don't think it's fantasy because 107, who I think he is, JFK Jr., he is a military man, contrary to a lot what people don't know. And I have this, confirmed and so on and so forth. And I've met him a number of times and talked with him and so on and so forth. But anyway, regardless of who you think he is informed as part of the White Hat group, and he's very serious. He's not messing around. And so I don't think he's making this stuff up. So their AI or the generals or both have come to these conclusions. So is it matching? Is this kind of a very dire that we are going to be attacked here in the United States, where we really never have from outside the country exactly? You know what I'm saying? In other words, are you seeing a scenario like that?
Well, one of the things that comes out in the book is there is a character in the book whose name is John Rousseau, and he's had a stroke, can't speak anymore, passes away, and leaves a message for his wife, who discovers a key that's in the handle of his wheelchair. And it escapes the FBI. They come and they search the house. They don't find it. She finds it. So then she takes it to her contact inside what used to be the CIA. It's now the White Hats. and they take it to a special room in the Pentagon I call the vault. It's
Okay.
there's a war going on inside the Pentagon. It's been going on for a number of years. There are lines of demarcation, and there are very strong defenses inside the Pentagon, and there are rules inside the Pentagon. So they're, even though they fight, they have to fight inside these rules, or else the whole thing falls into chaos. And what it turned out to be on this thumb drive was a plot called Operation First Strike. Now, I streamed Operation First Strike from what I think is Looking Glass. I can tell when the device is turned on. I can kind of pick up on the signal. That's where Charm of Favor came from. And that's why everything that's in Charm of Favor, when people were reading it, in fact, there were points in the book where it said that the emergency alert system would go off. And there were people reading the book. And while they were reading it, the emergency alert system went off.
Hmm.
And they
Okay,
called
but
or they
what?
wrote me.
Okay, but I don't understand what you're saying. So when you say you're using Project Looking Glass, so
Yeah.
how are you doing that?
When they, I don't know, when they turn Looking Glass on, when they use it to view the future, I can see what they see. I don't know how I do it. I don't know how
Oh,
it
all
comes to
right.
me. But then I take that and I write about it. And then when I publish it, I never got a knock on my door. But when I publish it, it's in stone. Then it's millions of people are reading it at that point. Then the things start coming to pass. So Operation First Strike goes like this. They're going to use an EMP to take our eyes out temporarily. It won't be permanent, but it will take the eyes out for a while, like 1 or 2 days. Systems will go down. But when the EMP goes off, we lose our ability to see, and then uh, offensive forces that are very close in, some of them already inside our country, sitting in shipping containers in various metropolitan cities around the country, and others sitting right offshore. The short range then attacks, which are conventional, take place, which take out our command and control. And at that point, we fall into a automatic system that's called continuity of government. Not many people know what that is. They speculate on it, but it
I've
basically,
written lots of articles and my audience should be aware of it. And but technically, when Biden went into office on false pretenses, then it already kicked in at that time. So where are you're saying this is going to be another version or a rerun
no,
or
it's
what?
continuity of government is sort of a military shadow of the elected government. And it's there for one of three reasons. One is either a pandemic, like we went through a fake pandemic. So we actually thought that it would kick in, but it didn't because it was a fake pandemic. The second one is a mass casualty event, like a terrorist attack or an airplane crash, or you remember when they tried to kill half of Congress by derailing the train that was going on its way to Greenbrier? That was half the Congress that they tried to kill. They tried to derail that train. They also tried to kill the Freedom Caucus at the baseball game. They had an assassin that came in, but the assassin ended up getting shot before he could complete his mission, and Scalise was injured. There have been several attempts to make this happen. So that's why continuity of government is in place there. And the third is a mass arrest, and that is pending. We know the indictments are out there. We know they're sealed. We know that everyone's been caught, but there is no authority. There's no authority to make it happen. The military has been 99% compromised. A lot of people don't know this, but during World War II, there were only 7 4-star generals. That's it, 7 during the entire conflict. Right now, we have 43. 43 4-star generals, and almost all of them are corrupt. They're all on the take. They're all working for Raytheon and Grumman and Boeing, and they're all on the take, and they're all working for major, major donors to the Democrat Party. And this is a huge problem. Now, of course, most American people know about this one way or another, and they're going to vote to remove Biden from office. This power structure does not want that to happen, and they will do anything, and I mean anything, including attack our own country to keep that from happening. And that's why it's critical that this book come out. I need to get it out this summer so that people can be aware that first strike is real. And I think based on what I know right now, we would not be able to strike back.
Okay. Now, I mean, there's a bunch of areas to kind of delve into there that you covered. We might have different frames of reference, so to speak, but I have been following the White Hats, and I actually met several of them early. This is many years ago, even going back 10, 13 years, okay, to 2013 and earlier. So I was aware of them before they went public under Q and so on and so forth. So I have a different point of view of them. And I also have a different point of view of who the players are and such. But you're talking about our command and control center being taken out. That was one of the first things you said.
Yeah.
And my understanding that is NORAD. Would you disagree?
That's part of it. They can actually be isolated. They can't run the country from there. The main brain for it is known as Site R. Site R is 6.3 miles from Camp David. It was built during World War II under a fast track project. There are 5 buildings inside this. It's under Raven Rock Mountain. That's actually the brain center. And what they're going to try to do is isolate that by collapsing the tunnel entrances.
Okay, now what's the relationship between that location and Mount Weather?
I don't know about Mount Weather, but Raven Rock Mountain.
It's in Washington, D.C. area.
Okay. Well,
and it was at factors in, well, the information going out there is that it was taken over already by the White Hats. And this is going back, excuse me, about a year. So I wonder if they probably are connected underground anyway, right?
No, the tunnels to side there are only 3. 2 of them are the A door, the B door, which are both on the south side. And then later they constructed a tunnel from Camp David, a side entrance that goes directly down to the main road inside of Side R. So this is almost impregnable. I mean, it could take several direct hits and still survive. But it is actually the brain center. It's not the command center. It doesn't command air traffic control and power management and stuff like that. But it manages the government from inside Side R. And it is not controlled by the White Hats. There's a war going on inside that facility right now.
Okay, fair enough. And that also is reflected in the Pentagon. Would you agree? Because that's ongoing.
Almost ring by ring. And I've been there many times, and you can sense it when you're there. There's a lot of brass, a lot of silver running around inside the Pentagon. It's a city. A city is 13,000 people any given moment working inside there. And you can sense the tension. Army and Marines and even the contractors that are working there. I met with large groups of them, some of them active duty, some of them retired, with suits inside the administration. And there's an extreme amount of tension because of the money that they're dealing with. They're not dealing with millions. They're dealing with billions of dollars every single day in there. And it is making or breaking donor class companies almost on a monthly basis inside the Pentagon.
Okay. Yeah. And I have some back channel information on that, which may or may not agree with yours, but it definitely is dealing with money. So we have NORAD. We have this place you're calling, what do you call it?
Site R.
Site R. Okay. I've never heard of that actually. At least I don't think I have. But anyway, so I just want to wrap. What we're talking about is your book that is based on Looking Glass that you somehow tap into. Is it when you're writing or before you write?
Well, sometimes it wakes me up in the middle of the night, and then I have to get up and write. And sometimes it comes to me because I work by myself pretty much every day. Sometimes it comes to me while I'm working. And then when I get home, I get into my state of mind and I start writing and it comes out.
Now, do you
So
think that that's AI?
yes, it is AI, but it is also manipulated by people. The thing about viewing the future is it gives you knowledge of things you don't know yet. And then what happens is it influences what you're going to do today, which is in the past, which then makes the future more fluid.
Uh-huh.
So they end up, and you could see this from the Davos crowd and the people that thought they ruled the world for a long time. They don't have any control at all. They can't manipulate economy. They don't understand about the weather. They don't understand anything because they've reacted to what they learned about the future. And when they did, they changed the future again. So they have messed it all up. So the viewers that are using Looking Glass now are trying to view it hands off. That is to say, they're just looking and then they come and give the information. But the Biden administration, or I call him Virtual Joe, they don't use it much. They don't use it much. They have a mission and they're sticking right to it, and they actually don't care what anybody does.
Okay. Well, and I call it the Biden show, but so we're on the same page there. But anyway, so what are you saying about this first strike? In essence, you're sort of saying that we're going to be left somewhat defenseless, and it sounds like you don't have much faith in the military. So, I mean, maybe that's true. Because okay, so, but you're not mentioning Trump. So, is there a reason why you're not mentioning Trump? Because as far as I'm concerned, it's Trump and the White Hats. So, if the military are absent, there's certainly a certain portion. Our understanding is that the not the Air Force, but the air the Space Force is under Trump, and that they're loyal mostly. Okay. Um, is this your understanding? I mean, how are you seeing the lay of the land this way? Because I really see it. The Trump show, if you want to call it the Trump, team, and the Biden show. And there's a lot of people that think that Biden is completely run by the White Hats at this point. I don't agree. Okay. So
I'm with you.
I don't know where okay. So just based on the things I just threw out, can you put your pieces together and tell
Yeah.
us why you think what you think?
Well, the greatest question in the world right now, and I have contacts in Ukraine, I have contacts in Europe, I have contacts in Japan, which I speak with every single night. The greatest question on earth today is who is playing Joe Biden? Now, they don't think Joe Biden's dead or there's an
Well, he's an
actor
actor. I mean, we already know
or
that.
whatever. They don't believe that. But what they
Who,
do
who
believe
doesn't?
is that whatever words are coming out of his mouth, he's not writing them.
Yeah.
Somebody's giving him the cue card. Somebody's putting the words on the teleprompter. Somebody's writing the executive orders. He's not. He doesn't have a clue what's going on. He's
Right, of
being
course.
used. What is clear is there's at least two people playing Joe Biden physically, maybe three, because
Well,
you could
actually,
tell
Juan said there were four.
okay, because you could tell the different energy levels, and depending on the camera angle. And by the way, AI is used in all of this because very few people actually hear Joe Biden live. They hear him through a microphone. And once the voice goes in the mic, the AI changes it into Joe Biden's voice. That's why
Uh,
we think we hear him
okay.
speaking, but that's not the voice coming out of the mouth. What's coming out of the mouth is another man's voice. It's just
Uh-huh.
changed into Joe Biden's voice by AI. And that's how they're using AI. AI is not writing the words. They're they're basically interpreting the words and making it sound like
Yeah,
Joe
well,
Biden.
that's in a movie called Deep Fake, which was a series called The Capture that the British released,
Ah,
actually.
I think of it like uh what is it? The movie with Tom Cruise in it, Mission Impossible. Where he
Uh,
puts the little thing on his throat, but
right.
that's not the way it works. way it works is once you speak into the microphone, it alters the voice,
Yeah,
and
no,
you're
it's
hearing.
definitely, yeah. So it's a technique. But anyway, okay. So, but in terms of the political layout of the two sides and because when you get to this place that you're talking about, which is a first strike, again, you're sounding like it's going to come from within the United States as opposed to outside.
Yeah, it is. It's going to come very fast, and it's going to be a surprise. And the reason we're not going to strike back is because, well, two reasons. One is because we don't have the capability to know who did it. So we don't know who to strike back against. The other reason is the strike back is not the game plan. The game plan, the reason why they're going to allow first strike to happen is to stop the 2024 election, because they cannot let, well, first of all, they can't let Joe Biden debate uh, Donald Trump. That's never going to happen. They also cannot let people actually vote because they'll overwhelm the system. Even with cheat by mail and everything that they're going to try, they can't overcome it this time. People
Right.
are just going to overload the thing, so they can't allow the election to happen. And there's only
Well, you're saying that the deep state, the new world order, the cabal, they can't let it happen. Is your thinking? Okay.
there's
So,
too
but
much money at stake.
okay, but where? Okay. Well, maybe this is something you're either not party to or you don't want to say, but you're skirting around where the first strike comes from. Is it in your book, and do you tell in your book where
Yeah,
it comes from?
yeah, it's in the book. So the EMP takes place inside this country. It
Right.
will be most effective if it takes place by air. So it
Right.
could be one of these balloons, it could be a passenger aircraft, it could be any one of a number of things. What I think it's going to be in the book is it's going to be an orbiting satellite. It's going to be an orbiting satellite that does the EMP. We have two North Korean satellites that are up there that have never made a sound, and they may both be weapons.
Okay.
So once this weapon goes off, then everything else moves into motion, and it's designed to take out command and control. It's designed to force continuity of government into place. But see, this is where the battle is occurring right now inside the Pentagon, inside R, and these other layers. The dark forces, the cabal, they have their own set of leaders that they're going to try to put in place. The white hats that you call them, or the people that are actually assigned to the Trump organization to support continuity of government, which was actually a live operation a few weeks before the election. That operation is still ongoing.
Yes.
They don't have the authority to take over. So it's going to be a
Under
battle.
what? I mean, well, okay. I mean, what does that mean? They don't have the authority. Now, my understanding. Okay, let's just see where we part ways. So, is that Trump was voted in by the military in March of 2021, right after Biden took office, even though it was a funeral, he was dead already, but they put in a puppet and so on. But the military caught wind and finally got a grip and re-voted in Trump as a CIC at that time. Um, Technically, he's also stayed president this whole time, but it's president of the republic, not the corporation, because the corporation is theoretically dissolved. And that if and when, the whole plan, of course, of the White Hats is that there will be some kind of incident under which the military will step forward and insist that Trump take office and act as the CIC. Under those circumstances, he does have authorization, or he would get it. Isn't that right?
Yeah, under those circumstances, but that is a full-on coup, and that would really, really be destabilizing. So they're
I think the
trying.
coup already happened. This would be taking back of our government,
Well,
if
that's
you
the way
don't
we
mind.
kind of feel too. I treat it like, Joe Biden was in a marathon, and instead of running the marathon, he got on board a shuttle bus. He rode around to the finish line and took a nap. And
Well,
while everyone was running,
the DNI and the, at least behind the scenes, he basically said that our election was stolen by the CCP and other players. Juan mentions MI6 repeatedly. There are other players as well, Italy, the Vatican,
I think even
Israel, and so on and so forth. So all of that is kind of like out there and known. But under the circumstances, when you throw this sort of wrench into the deal, well, Project Camelot, and I don't know how long you even followed my work all going back, but in the very early days, we were told, and this is 20 years ago, that everything would come to a head. It would all be at once. That includes financial, you name it, and that at the same time there would be an EMP, and that our country would do it on itself and blame it on some other country like China or someone.
Yeah, that would be like.
So that is kind of what you sound like you're saying as well now.
Yeah, and that's quite the possibility. But we know that if the EMP is too serious and it really does take the grid down for, say, a year, we'll lose about 3 to 4 million people a week while it's down, because there are people that have to have electricity to live. They need dialysis. They are in the middle of some health crisis and they need, health care. If the grid goes down for a year, we could lose 3 million people a month. And now, of course, that's going to tail off. But in the beginning, it's going to be rather acute. And that's going to be a huge burden on the country. So they don't want the EMP to be completely debilitating. All they want to do is take our eyes out for about 2 or 3 hours, allow them to do what they have to do to take out the command and control and to prevent the election from taking place.
But that would be another takeover of our government that you're describing. Yes. And who are those players?
Well, of course, they're the Schwabites. That's the one.
Okay, so the New World Order.
Right, the New World Order.
The usual suspects.
They thought that they were going to win in 2016. I thought they were going to win in 2016. Everybody I knew thought they were going to win in 2016. They didn't win in 2016. We took them by surprise. You and we're now the mainstream media. They didn't realize we had the audiences that we had. That's why they took your channel and my channel and demonetized us and tried to throw us in jail. That's why they did that, because they didn't realize how many people we were reaching.
Right.
So they got delayed for 4 years. Of course, they immediately did not accept President Trump's win, and they immediately tried to pull the carpet out from underneath him. It slowed him down a little bit. He didn't get the wall done. He didn't get some other things done that he wanted to do. But then the coup took place and they stole the election. And anybody that spoke out against it was immediately put in jail. Me and a million of my friends went to D.C. on January 6th to show them.
You were there.
We saw what you did. We saw what you did, and we don't accept it.
Right.
We were there actually to support the legislators that could step forward and say, you know what, we had real problems with our election. We're going to redo things. That's why we were there. We were there to support that. And then, of course, that started to take place. Arizona stepped up and they made their petition. And Nancy Pelosi immediately left the podium, went to the Capitol Police, told them to open the doors and let the tourists in. And that disrupted the process and shut everything down. And when they came back, there was no more argument. Everybody just voted. They took over everything. And then the committee started coming after us. Now, they didn't come after me because I'm old. I admit it. And there weren't enough porta potties. So I didn't go to the Capitol. I stayed around the Washington Monument and then went back to the hotel. But a lot of my friends, they made the walk down there and they got visited by the FBI, and some of them are in jail.
Yeah, that's a hideous situation. Mm-hmm. Okay, political prisoners in America, though, definitely.
We call them the J6 hostages.
Yeah, of course. Now, but still, to get back to this situation, because it's kind of interesting to me. There are no accidents in the world, right? Because I just wrote my article yesterday or last night, and today you're on my show talking about this from your point of view, from your tapping into what you think is looking glass and appears to be an AI and so on, and is influencing the writing of your book in such a way. Now, I'm curious. So where does your book, the plot go once after you said, first there's this like EMP takes up away our eyes, as you're calling it, or surveillance or whatever. And then there's small attacks from offshore. What are you talking about with that?
Well, these are submarines, or they may be shipping containers that are sitting in yards around the country that have rockets in them. They just open the top and launch. But
Now, are you seeing cities being taken out?
no, not cities. They're not
Okay.
designed to take out large numbers of civilians. They're designed to go after leadership. What they want to do is disrupt our ability to mobilize a response. So what they want to do is take that out. So they're going to take out senators, congressmen. They're going to try to take out, and this is part of the plot too. There are three things that could stop the election from happening. One is that one or both of candidates are assassinated. People think about that every single day, but not many people think about Biden being assassinated. They think about him being taken out, with the 25th Amendment or having a stroke. But see, both of those scenarios cause the current leadership structure to lose face. And they don't want to do that. They don't want to lose strength. What they want to do is gain strength, and they want to gain it in a strategic way. So if Biden were assassinated, God forbid, and they could somehow blame it on MAGA, that would do everything they need right there. They'd be able to replace him with Gavin Newsom or whoever they wanted to replace him with, Hakeem Jeffries. They could just replace him, and they'd be able to point all the nation's animosity against MAGA. They would release some kind of frivolous evidence that this was somehow plotted and planned, and it was done by ultra right wing uh, terrorists under Donald Trump, and that would split the nation apart. So it would accomplish everything they want to accomplish, including delay the election.
Okay. Now, aside from delaying the election, uh, we're in a situation where these things are already happening in a sense. And in essence, the country is split. The Biden show, those that know it's a show, that's a joke, are very aware of this conversation we've been having, saying, who's running him, et cetera, et cetera. So he's not the, even if you're saying he might be a target, but to make him a target is again to make a fake icon a target. And that, it to me doesn't seem like it's going to stop the election. And plus, it's very possible they could pretend he was, he died by normal means because he's so, he appears so old anyway. I mean, if they want to put someone else in office, they have. So I guess what you're trying to say is they can't run that person as a candidate because people won't vote for them anyway. Is that what your
No,
thought?
they could. I mean, they could run, say, Operation Gerald Ford. They could do that. They could ask Kamala Harris to leave. I mean, she's already taken one bribe. What's one more bribe? She takes the bribe. She steps down from office and goes, on The View or gets her own TV show. They move, say, someone like Gavin Newsom in to take her place. He then becomes one heartbeat away from being president. And then they take Biden out, which makes Gavin Newsom president. Same as what happened with
Right.
Joe.
So there's no vote necessary, in other words.
Right. So that now what you have is a totally different, not Trump. You have somebody that can lie on a scale like Goebbels.
Yeah.
And
He is a
before,
Nazi. I mean,
oh
actually,
yeah.
I mean, I
And
live in California. I think I know, you know.
so yeah, he can lie on a scale that will make Goebbels blush. But he has the entire fake stream news behind him.
Interesting.
We wouldn't cover him that way, but we'd be, of course, censored. They the Googleites, they would cover him that way. And then all the anti-Trump people would have a new person to vote for. Not an old person, but a young, vibrant, handsome person that is, made into the knight in shining armor by the fake stream news.
Well, okay, and arguably he's already been executed in the Guantanamo, but that's a whole nother matter. We're not going to go there. So, okay, but what I'm wondering is that in terms of scenarios, you kind of you set up a scenario, right, where we're under attack with an EMP, first of all, to blind us, and then some other kinds of attacks on what you're saying is the leadership.
Yep.
That's kind of questionable, though. But I understand what you're saying. Does it go on from there, or do you have order? Is order restored and the game continues, type of thing?
The idea is disorder, because right now the Pan-European Army, which most people know as NATO, they are the aggressor. They've already invaded 63 sovereign countries. They've assassinated presidents. It's unbelievable how powerful they are and rich. Of course, they've usually been rich because of the generosity of the American government, but Trump kind of put a cut in that because he made them each put up 2% of their GDP. Anyway, that's a different story. The point is that the Pan-European Army is in position to take over once the United States military is taken out of the picture. Once the command and control is gone, the United States military has no one commanding it, so it won't do anything. It will just sit there, just like it's doing right now. It's sitting there, not doing a damn thing.
Okay, well, depending on your point of view, but at least part of it is not doing anything. And they are, in essence, those would be the ones that have been, what I was told is paid by Rothschild, as a matter of fact. And then when Trump ended that, they didn't get their paycheck anymore from Rothschild. Then they, basically sort of stood down and wouldn't do anything.
War on him, and they went after him.
Okay. And
well, and look what's happening. Monday, there was an article that came out where the Supreme Court has backed off of their decision to block the FBI from putting armed agents inside of social media companies like they were doing in 2020 to influence the election. The FBI, armed FBI, went into Facebook and Twitter and other social media companies, opened offices, put their pistol up on the table, and when they received their phone call from the Biden administration, you shut Kerry Cassidy's account down. They pick up their gun, cock it, walk over to the person, hold the gun to their head, and say, terminate Kerry Cassidy's YouTube account right now. And they do it. Well, guess what? The FBI's back at it again. Their offices have all been reopened, and the Supreme Court has backed off, and the FBI is there again. And yesterday, they started deleting accounts off of X.
Oh, all right. Okay, so I'm trying to get a good picture of your book, and obviously people want to read it, and obviously you need to finish it. Is there anything, without giving away the whole story, and maybe, I don't know, maybe you could be wrong, and the outcome could be wrong, right? And so what is the scenario? In other words, you seem to have a scenario in which this new government under somebody, whether it's Gavin Newsom or somebody else, but one of those dark players continues being in office, or being in control. But you don't have another scenario in which they lose.
Oh, I do. And if you read Charm of Favor, they attempted to assassinate Trump. They actually shot down 2 Air Force Ones. He was in the new Air Force One, the one that he commissioned to be built at the beginning of his term. It wasn't painted yet. They hadn't even finished it yet, but they took it off anyway, and they were circling out off the coast of the UK in the Atlantic. Nobody even knew about the plane. The other 2, the one on the Gulf of Mexico and the one up by Thule, Greenland, were both shot down in the book. But and that was, oh man, that chapter is unbelievable. But Trump comes back and he goes to side R and pins the dark side, Hillary's team, pins her down in side R and puts them all away.
So that's also in your book. I'm not. I guess I'm
That's in
not.
Charm of Favor. This one, that
Right.
ending has not been written yet. I just haven't
Oh,
shown the ending yet, but it's going to be just as epic. I mean, people that read Charm of Favor, they were holding on by their fingernails, turning those last 30 pages.
okay. I guess I'm not. It's funny because you're looking at this from a different point of view, right?
I
Now,
am.
why do you think that? Let's say you really are tapping into Looking Glass. Okay, why would they let you do that? Why do you think?
I don't think they have the control over it. Once the signal goes out, it can be picked up. It's almost subspace. I don't know how to describe it.
Okay.
It is a broadcast system. So when they turn it on, it actually has a system of crystals and energy and plasma that's with it. And you can actually see through time, like this window opens up. And so they're observing it. And of course, when it closes, they make their report, and then people have to make personal choices about what they just saw. Let me give you an example. When Alan Turing was building his computer to break the German Enigma machine, which was a code machine that they just couldn't break, he finally figured out how to break it, and they discovered that they were going to attack a convoy. And so they thought, well, let's go send some subs, let's send some planes, let's protect that convoy. And they said, no, we can't do that, because if we do,
Oh, I remember
let
that.
the Germans know that we've broken the code and they'll do something else. And we need to win the war, not the battle. So they let those people die.
Yeah, this also does sound a lot like the White Hat's modus operandi as well. A lot of times. In fact, I just wrote another article, which is about Bitcoin and the vote, and the fact that they have the vote on blockchain, they have the evidence, the NSA tracked the 2020 vote, and they've never released that information. And so I was hypothetically going down a road saying, why not? Like, what would be holding this up? Not from the dark side, but from the light
Oh,
side.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
why?
Well, because there was no authority. Like when Joe Biden stepped off the shuttle bus and grabbed the trophy and said, I won the marathon, and the press surrounded him and protected him, there was no authority. There wasn't any authority on the planet that could say, wait a minute, I just saw you get off the shuttle bus. You cheated. No one could do that. I mean,
Well,
even the
it's funny
military.
that you're using this term, no authority. I mean, according to my information, there's definitely authorities. Whether it depends how far back you want to go, and it also depends how deep. Now, we could do a sort of transition here into what is actually the condition of the financial system, because I'm told that's kind of part and parcel, like they called it in Juan's video, in fact, a black swan event, which is always a financial reference. So,
Mhm.
what's your thought on that?
Well, that's going to happen. And if you're out there and you really want to know the sign, what's going to make it happen,
Yeah.
watch the Airbnbs. What wealthy people do is they like to store their money in things that don't lose value. In fact, they like it to increase in value. We thought for a while that was gold. We thought for a while it was silver. It's not working. It doesn't hedge against inflation. It goes up and down without their control. It can be easily manipulated by the banks. So what they do, and you can track it, they've been buying houses. When houses come on the market, they move forward and they buy it in minutes, whatever it is that day. They just write a check for it. It's theirs. Their money is now stored in a title of a home. Drug dealers use it all the time, but now the wealthy are using it. And some of these people own 6, 7,000 homes in the Airbnb system. It's a publicly traded company. Whether they rent or not doesn't matter to them. It's nice to have income, but they don't have mortgages on these houses. They own them cash. What will cause them to sell them is when the value starts dropping. As
Okay.
soon as the value of the home starts dropping, they're going to start dumping the Airbnb homes on the market. Uh, and when that happens, that's when the crash will occur. And it will make what happened in 2008 look like a walk in the park.
Okay. Now, with election looming, are you saying this is going to happen before the election?
It's hard to say. It's not tied to politics. It's only
Okay.
tied to economics. And what's driving it really is counterfeiting. And I use the term literally. The virtual Joe and his gang of criminals have run out of equity. They've run out of money. And what they're doing now is they're counterfeiting money. They're not borrowing it from anybody. China's not loaning it to them. They're just printing it. They're just printing it, just like the Japanese are printing
Okay.
yen.
You're talking about the Fed, right?
Yes. The Fed is just printing money out of nothing. And what's happening is the world is now wise to it, and they're no longer accepting American dollars for payment. They want gold or they want some other thing. And that's what's going to precipitate this crash. It's being driven by too much money in the system. And believe it or not, the only way out of it for them is to increase taxes. And guess what they're doing? They're coming after us for more money.
Well, I know that they recently had a ruling that's going to go after the rich, actually, right?
Well, no.
You don't think so?
Well, that's what they say, but what they're
Yeah.
going to do is go after capital gains taxes,
Right.
and they're going to go after corporate taxes and business taxes. But everyone knows businesses don't pay taxes. We do. We pay the taxes. When we go to buy their product in the store, we're the ones that end up paying the taxes. It's the middle class that pay for it. Just like during the global lockdown, we lost $4 trillion of our money. They just took it. They just shut our business down and let the global multi-billion
Well,
companies
sure.
run,
Yeah.
and they took our money. They created in 2 years 500 new billionaires in this country. I take it you're not one of them. I'm not either. They didn't, they took my money. They shut down businesses that I worked for. Fortunately, I worked for the Fortune 100, and they allowed those companies to keep going. But I got to tell you, I had to write a religious exemption. I had to tape myself off in my cubicle. It was crazy what we had to do to keep our jobs during that time.
Oh, okay. But I guess I'm sort of a little bit mystified by the way you think things are playing out. So you actually don't think this financial situation will happen before the election, even though the election is also going to be postponed through this attack that you're talking about, right? The
I,
EMP
I think
slash attack.
that's why they have to postpone the election, or they have to stop it somehow, because they can't allow this collapse to take place.
Okay, what about this
Otherwise, we're
idea? Sorry?
they're going to lose everything. You,
Right.
you look at the money that senators and congressmen, and of course, the I would say the agencies, departments, bureaus, and administrations, look at the money they have made in the last 3 years. It's insane. It's criminal how much money they've
Yeah.
made.
Okay. But have you heard this? This is what I'm being told. Now, I have some high level contacts that are actually, I call them kind of like semi defectors from the Illuminati. Right.
Okay.
And by the way, my theory is that we're going to have more and more of those. Okay. More and more people, I believe, because I think that there's a happy ending to your story, if you will. And I do think that Trump and the team will come in. In fact, I've seen it in dreams. I have prophetic dreams and they do come true. So I'm kind of banking on that. But the one thing is that they're not going to they're this good thing is going to happen. But my Illuminati friends are saying, if you want to call them friends, are sources are saying they're going to let Trump. They've already decided this. In fact, it even was publicized about Davos, I think, this year, where they said all of Davos had already agreed Trump was going to come into office. It's a fait accompli, but they're going to control him. That's where this is what I'm being told. Okay. And I'm being told this by more than one source. people that don't know each other, but they are on, some have access to pretty high levels. So you haven't heard that, huh? Or have you?
Well, I think they're going to try to control him. I mean, that's what they did with Biden. Biden and 10 of his, uh, I'll call them co-conspirators, were making millions of dollars a year working for Penn State. They didn't have to teach class. They didn't have to go there. The Chinese just funneled money through Penn State to them. Then, when Joe Biden was installed, all 10 of those co-conspirators at Penn State ended up as his top cabinet members.
Hmm.
So China, and Trump told us in advance, he said, if you let Joe Biden get in the White House, the CCP will open offices in the West Wing. And that's exactly what happened. They're going to try.
Well, yes. So what I mean, according to, okay, this goes back 20 years, but we were told we would have war with China at this time, and that actually China and the players are all on board with the war. They're orchestrating the war. They know it's going to happen. They're planning for it. So I'm not sure how that fits into your scenario.
It fits perfectly because the war already started, and they're using 5 major weapon systems against us right now. Right now, they're using counterfeit cash. We're losing 100,000 civilians a year to fentanyl. They're cyber hacking us.
Sure.
They
okay, fair enough.
COVID, and
that's the quiet war, so to speak.
Right, and then they also steal our intellectual secrets and attacked our election infrastructure.
Right. Well, that goes way back.
They don't have to send soldiers over here to shoot us.
Well, but they are, because they're crossing the border every day.
They are, and they're going to command and control centers in 20 metropolitan cities, and they're receiving orders and money and missions.
Yeah, it's funny how it actually looks like the cards are stacked against the Trump team, but I don't know, because they also seem to be like luxuriating, if you will, in making Trump look like the underdog in order to keep him in that status, so that he can garner as many, in theory, votes when the time comes.
Yeah. Well, they've made some disastrous public relations mistakes in the last 3 weeks. Trump's looking pretty good. Fannie Faux Fannie is about to lose her seat. Stormy Daniels did a wonderful job for the prosecution over the last couple of days. I'm rolling my eyes. I would have asked one question today and one question only. So, Miss Daniels, which one of these lies is actually the truth?
Yeah.
I don't think the jury bought a thing she said. It did not go well for the prosecution.
Can I throw one thing out about that? We know that presidents have doubles, and I don't know where you stand on the whole JFK having survived and been a double and so on and so forth. But that is a theory. And I interviewed Jay Widener about his newest theory having to do with the squibs and the JFK assassination, which I don't think is actually accurate. I think it has elements of accuracy, but I think he missed a lot of stuff. So the trouble is that we also have this other, I don't know if do you know who Pascal Najati is?
Yes.
Okay. So he's on the circuit, former Swiss Air Force, having some credibility. His father was a partner of Klaus Schwab in the New World Order, scheme. But he backed out. And so here's Pascal coming forward at this interesting, opportune moment when very few people, as far as I know, are even listening to Juan anymore, and he was ostensibly the main white hat spokesperson for the last 2-3 years. Mm-hmm. So all of a sudden we've got Pascal coming forward and beating the drums on the white hat side. Although they're throwing, I don't know if he's doing it or they're doing it. They're throwing in some wild cards like flat earth and crazy, some crazy things that people don't believe. Okay. To make him seem, I don't know, like questionable on some level, which even that can be a white hat operation. You must be familiar with that. They don't mind that, for example, that people are suspicious of Flynn and think Flynn plays both sides. They actually like that. They want to continue that perception. This is part of their, war, law of war. I mean, art of war and all of that. So any thoughts on all of that?
Well, some of these people I've met. I met Mike Flynn in Dallas, and I spoke with him, and we were in a situation. It was kind of fluid, and I gathered he doesn't think too quick on his feet. He just doesn't think quick on his feet. I think he's a good strategist and not a good tactician. That's just my take on him. I think he's an honorable guy, but I just don't think he
You
has.
think okay, well, I don't know, honorable. I mean, the bottom line is that Trump got him out of prison, and I think he made a deal with Trump at that point, and he will stick by his deal. So, in that sense, I guess you might call him honorable.
Yeah,
Um,
but he doesn't
but
think
he
quick on
has
his
a
feet.
he has a history of actually sort of playing both sides,
Yeah,
going way back,
yeah.
way back.
And the same with
So,
Sidney Powell. I spent the afternoon with her, and I thought she was way different in person than her
uh,
persona. She's brilliant. She's funny. She's has a great ability to
I
converse.
always liked Sydney, but but again, these people are under orders. Especially if you're working for the White Hats, to come across in certain ways, it's all an act, right?
Yeah, and when I talk about authority, I mean somebody needs to step forward and say this is a violation of the Constitution and cannot be allowed to stand. This lawsuit, where 26 states brought lawsuits after the 2020 election and said there were huge irregularities and we need to see these fixed. The secretaries of state made changes to the election illegally, lots of things. 23, I think it was 23 states filed the case, and the Supreme Court would not hear it.
Yeah.
The Congress would not give them the time of day, which is a violation of the Article 1, by the way, of the Constitution.
I mean, yeah. I mean,
There's
so
no
the
authority.
Brunson case also indicates we've got members of Congress that are basically traitors to our republic, certainly.
We know that there are people in office right now that have never taken the oath.
Yeah, I know about that one too. Yeah.
It's
Well, I mean, this is the games that are being played. So, okay. I mean, I'm keeping you for long enough. I see my chat room is really going crazy on this show today. So I'd like to give a couple of questions, at
Sure.
the chance of
I
the
love
viewers to
questions.
ask you a couple of questions. But thank you. It's been a lot of fun talking to you, Brooks. And I think, you might be onto something, but we're going to have to stand by and get your whole book to find out. Let's see. So, okay, someone wants to know. This is not a question for you, but I'll just answer it anyway. What happened to Paladin? He is still around. He's a white hat, and I have been in touch with him. What can I say about him? I think he's been serving the white hats very well, but he was told under orders to go dark, so to speak. Let's see. I need a question for Brooks. They're sort of asking questions that don't really, and I need a question mark behind the question because there are a lot of chats. So I guess it's more chat than questions. Anyone?
By the way, I asked Q, it was been a number of years ago. I think it was 2000, I think it was 2018. I asked him direct. I wrote to him direct. I said, "Is JFK Jr. alive?" And he wrote me back, said no.
You asked Q, but
Directly.
Q has actually said both things. He said he was alive and he said it was dead.
I know.
Seriously, do you think they're going to tell you? Because the bottom line,
Well, there's that too. So I don't know.
I mean, I've got people writing to me saying, well, they asked Juan if he was JFK Jr. and he said no.
Well,
Well,
he
of
has
course he's
blue
going to
eyes.
say no if it's your act. If you spent all this time dressing up in this ridiculous outfit that makes you look like Santa Claus and conducting yourself like that, and it's a horrible, I mean, it must be the most uncomfortable thing to wear, this huge fat stomach, et cetera, et cetera. And I have seen it in very I have some great pictures, and it's all on my website, a lot of my stuff. Anyway.
He has a great handshake, and I've spoken to him face to face. He has deep steel blue eyes and a great smile.
All right. You met the other one. There's two ones. There's a 107 that has blue eyes, and that is Wayne Willett. And there's a 107, which is JFK Jr. And he has brown eyes. But I don't know if the guy you were getting a handshake from was actually wearing contacts to make it look like he had blue eyes. But who, because these are the games being played. So who knows? All right. So, but that's the thing. You have to stay awake and aware on your feet and thinking fast all the time, because they are definitely trying to mess with your head. And their games are prolific because, in part, they're actually, they come out of the idea that they could be killed at any moment,
Well, yeah, I mean the FBI 3 months in a row 3 months in a row, went to people's houses and shot them in the face for their social media posts.
Really?
They killed Gonza Lira. They killed him for his YouTube. They let him out, and he was on his motorcycle heading for Hungary. Sent a couple posts out from the road stop or the truck stop as he was heading for the Hungarian border, and Victoria Nuland had him arrested at the border, and they killed him for his YouTube.
Right. Well, okay. I don't know. Maybe they didn't dare to kill me. They certainly messed with me a ridiculous amount, so I'm not going to complain.
They stole my money. They closed my PayPal account, took all my money. They ended I had 220,000 subscribers on YouTube. They deleted.
I had to start completely over as well. Completely. Yeah. All right. So, but I was just looking to see if there's anything else we can address here. Well, all right. Why don't I just give you the floor to close out with any subject that we didn't touch on that you might want to talk about that you think that draws our attention?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head. The key to all of this is to stay aware and stay awake, and don't believe the fake stream news. Don't believe anything you hear except from us, because we're going to steer you right or steer you nowhere, but we're not going to steer you wrong. And I would make sure that you have a little bit of food stored, a little bit of cash on hand. It would not hurt to have some silver, because silver is currency no matter what. And just keep your head on a swivel. Don't get in a situation where you're going to be a victim, because it's coming. When the head of the FBI comes out and warns us that there are 20 cities, and by the way, I live in one of them, 20 cities that are on a threat list.
Right.
And they tell us that there are organized terrorists inside our city, and they're going to hit us all at the same time. And then people ask us, well, was that going to make us go under martial law? And I say, no, it won't. What will make us go under martial law is our retaliation against them. That's what's going to make us go under martial law, because there are a lot of people, millions of people, they're not going to take this. An attack like that happens in this country, we will fight back. And that's what will disrupt the election, because it is actually unconstitutional to have an election while you're under martial law.
Yeah, very interesting. All right. I guess we're going to have to see where these cards fall. But I think this has been very illuminating for everyone if they're listening to you, and I think you're kind of on the track towards the truth of what's been going on and what is going on, more than most, I would say. And so I hope that we can get your book, have you back on this show when the book is published, and go through it with you and see where where you're hitting it and where you might be a little off it, and so on and so forth. Because it is a moving target, the future at this time, right?
Oh yeah, it's in motion. That's what makes the book so big. Is I get to a certain point, and then the river changes course, and so all my characters have to take you in a different direction. And this is it's like where Tom Clancy would be if he was alive.
Okay. So when's your published date, do you think?
I'm shooting for July 4th.
Okay. Going to keep my eye on that one. All right. Thank you, Brooks, for being on the show. Thanks, everyone, for all the great conversation and the questions I didn't get to ask because they were buried. And I'm sure we'll do this again. And people should go to your website. And do you keep your blog current?
Well, I don't blog. I have
All
a
right.
podcast that's every Wednesday and Sunday, but
Okay.
my website is current. So brooksagnew.com is where you can keep up with everything. You can get uh, things that can help you with viruses there. I can't say too much because we're on YouTube. I know it's going to be taken down, but this is a really big one. And listen, I want to implore people. Carrie and I do go to live events, and sometimes we're on the same panel together, and you're missing it. So you need to come out to the live events and see us because we're not going to be here forever, and you might as well meet us face to face. The energy at these events is phenomenal.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun over at the Alien one event that we went to. There's another one in October. So
Vegas.
yeah, in Vegas. So that are you going to be there?
Oh yeah, I'll be there.
Excellent. Okay, great. All right. Thank you, Brooks. Onward and upward, and let's see where we go. But thank you again. And everyone, thanks for watching. Take care. Bye bye.
Bye bye.